Hello and happy Friday. Welcome to the TBA's Legislative Podcast. This week, you get the B team. I'm Brad Lampley filling in for Berkeley Schwartz, who couldn't make it today, joined, of course, by Ashley Harbin. Both of
I
us,
guess,
and
am I
Reese.
Ashley Harbin filling in for Brad Lampley as,
Uh,
as,
you know,
as
you,
number
you just,
two? Is
yeah,
that is that right?
I guess the Three Amigos is now down to the gruesome twosome or whatever you want to
That's
call
right. That's right.
it. That's what it's
We'll try to do as well as Berkeley does.
the
So we'll see how this goes.
I think we can start a rumor. Berkeley is at home with a chainsaw and just trying to continue to cut her way out of her neighborhood. Truth is, she had another meeting, as often happens to lobbyists this time of year. But I think we should start some rumors.
I like the rumors, but I'm just not near as creative as you are, Brad. So I'll try to think of something spicy as we move along this podcast.
So we'll try to keep it light and keep it quick this week. This is really Ashley the first week where things are really starting to get into the flow, and you feel like this is the way session's going to go. And then we're going to start our really about a 6 week run where it is absolutely, I call it the high water mark, where everything that's going to happen during session is pretty much going to happen over this next 6 weeks.
Yeah, that's right, Brad. So this week, I mean, it was just full steam ahead. And one thing I want to note that I don't know if you've noticed this, but a lot of our bills, we kind of year after year get in a rhythm of, okay, we know this is going to go to this committee, this one's going to go to this committee. I don't know who's doing the committee assignments this year, but I have been surprised with a lot of bills and where they've been referred to. So that's keeping us on our toes a little bit because normally it's just second nature. We know to start working the committee members, right? And this year I'm having to take a closer look on the bills and where they're assigned. So I don't know if you've noticed that, but that's been a big thing for me this week.
Yeah, well, it's like I try to draw everything with a sports analogy. I think it's like a basketball team where you say, okay, if they end up winning their conference, they're probably going to end up going to Columbus for the first round of games, and then all of a sudden they end up in Albuquerque instead. And it's just
Yeah.
like, wow, I didn't see that coming. And that's exactly how a lot of these bills have gone. I mean, it all makes sense where they're all going, but at the same time, it's like that's not where that typically would go. So you're exactly right. And I think there are a few lobbyists they're sort of planning on, and this happens to all of us. It happened to me
Yeah.
last year on the bill. You start working a committee because you assume that bill's in that committee, and then it's somewhere else. And
Yeah.
you're going to have to work that committee anyway. But it's like, all right, well, they got me, and it happens. So I think everybody's checking the website this week.
Yeah, we're doing a lot of website checking, but as far as, there's no big headlines this week. I will point out that the House came out with this immigration package. I think it's 9 bills, Brad.
Mhm.
But what we've heard is that's all going to be heard next week. So we expect a lot of media attention. We expect a lot of protesters. So we'll be right there in the thick of it while we're trying to get our jobs done. We will be sharing the space with the people of Tennessee. So that'll be interesting.
Yeah, it is funny. The lobbyists who would rather just the perfect day for a lobbyist is really Wednesday afternoon at like 4 o'clock after everybody's
Yeah,
gone home. The legislators are out kind of milling in the hallways, and you can catch people, right?
that's right.
And the hallways are wide open, and you can get from point A to point B quickly, and you love that. And then you get mad when there's 58 days on the Hill going on, and the hallways are clogged, you can't get anywhere, and there's huge lines in the legislators' offices. And then you remember, this is the most important part. It truly is the people's house.
That's
And the
right.
public can be there whenever they want, and they need to be. They have to be to make the system work what it is. So you have to remind yourself of that, though, when you're in a hurry to get to 3 meetings in the next 20 minutes. And that's typically how it works. So a lot of
Yeah.
interesting stuff going on right now. To your point, the immigration issues, you got a lot of committees are beginning to set calendars where it's saying, okay, this date, February the 18th, we're going to hear these bills on this topic. And then the following week, we're going to hear these bills on this topic on the 25th. And so that's the way it goes this time of year. You've also got budget presentations from the various state departments. And so that keeps everything busy. But again, everything that's going to happen this session will pretty much wrap up before the end of March. Then you've got the budget dropping in early April. And then Ashley, the intel you got this week is despite the snow, it looks like everything's still on schedule.
Yeah, so Brad, what I keep hearing is tax day. So, which is interesting because you would think with the snow week where we couldn't get anything done because we were without power, or even if we did have power, the person at the state that we needed to talk to did
Mhm.
not have power. So we really thought that would set things back a week, but it has not. Now we may feel like we're set back, but I mean they're moving forward, and so it's an election year. They're eager to get out. So I would anticipate around that tax day week. I don't know if it'll exactly be that certain day, but I mean that's what they're trying to do. So we'll see if it happens.
The other big ticket issues to keep an eye on for those of you that have specific areas of practice that interest you, obviously Governor Lee's education savings account, the vouchers, expanding that. He pointed out during his State of the State address, there are currently, I think, is it 50,000 students have signed up for what it currently is 20,000 available spots. So that's look for that to be expanded. How much will that expand? We'll have to see. The other thing that the governor got, well, the governor's budget, not the governor himself, but the budget got some criticism about was highway funding. And I think it was actually what, 400 million. Am I right on that figure?
Yeah, I think that's right.
And,
Yes.
and, and the question is that enough? And so
Right. And we had that conversation with a certain chairman who will not name, but we had a conversation yesterday at how compared to the surrounding states that our budget for roads in Tennessee is very low. And I honestly, he mentioned about the TDOT employees getting paid out of that fund rather than the general fund. And
Mhm.
I knew that, but I had completely forgotten about
Mhm.
that. So you think about it, they're the only state department where their money they have to pay their employees out of. So it's a certain $1 billion, and so you take away the pay, and then you're left with a much less of a chunk of money to work with for to support our roads here in Tennessee.
I'll tell you, we take the roads for granted here. And I know I did, and you look at the funding that it takes every year just for general upkeep, and you think that's a lot of money, and you tend to roll your eyes a little bit at the continuing need for infrastructure upgrades and so forth. That said, I had a bit of a moment back in January, it was about 5 or 6 weeks ago, when I flew to Baton Rouge to move my son from Baton Rouge up to Nashville. He was at LSU and is now taking a different coaching job. But
Oh, you're not going to name it, Brad?
it'll be announced soon enough. But it's pretty exciting. But I will say, you rent a U-Haul trailer, the big one, and you drag it 11 hours behind a truck, and with everything he owns in it, the interstates in Louisiana and Mississippi and Alabama, holy cow, there were times when I thought the trailer was going to literally come flying off the truck. I mean, it was nerve-wracking. And then you get to Tennessee and the roads, the interstates, very, very smooth. So I've got a new appreciation for Tennessee's roads, but also the amount of money that you got to take to keep those up. So I get that debate. We'll see how that shakes out. And this might be an issue, Ashley, where there might be some sort of reshuffling between
Yeah.
what the governor puts out in his budget and his budget amendment. And then, as you know, when the legislature gets done with that, they like to make some changes. They certainly did last year. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Um,
And we can anticipate that, right, Brad?
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I've heard people saying, are they going to be a little bit more generous to what the governor put out because it's his last budget? Um, I don't think so.
I don't
I
think
don't think they even are taking that in consideration. I
so.
think that they're going to give the governor, maybe most of the things that he wants, right? But I don't think they're going to take it easy on him as far as when it comes to that budget, just because it's last year. So,
That
good
reminds me.
thought, but I don't think it works like that.
It's a little bit like a reporter. I may have told you this story this week about our last game at UT. There was a group of us seniors sitting there at media day, and a reporter, some idiot reporter, comes up and he goes, "Are you all going to play any harder since it's Peyton's last game?" And about that time, my roommate said, "Hey, you blankety blank, it's my last game too." So yeah, I think there might be a real sentiment. Yes, it's Governor Lee's last budget, but there's a lot of folks in the legislature. This is going to be their last one too, and they're going to put a stamp
Exactly.
on it for sure.
That's
Uh,
right.
Other issues I think to keep an eye out for, just high level issues, not really getting down the weeds of this particular TBA issues this week, but those of you in healthcare, I mean, obviously CON is going to continue to be talked about. We're going to be involved in that and just watching that. PBMs are going to be another big issue. There's a lot of discussion about that behind the scenes, pharmacy benefit managers and so forth. So you'll see a little bit of that as well. Ashley, I'm not sure if you've got anything you want to add, but I know you're in the middle of those two issues as well.
Yeah, so I hope to stay a little bit further away on the second one you mentioned,
Mhm.
the PBMs. But yeah, certificate of need. Listen, the hospital systems, they've been hot and cold on the issue. So they
Mhm.
went from really wanting the certificate of need repeal to kind of backing off. So you've got certain hospitals having one viewpoint and other hospitals having another. But because the federal dollars are now tied to anything that could deter healthcare or stand in the way, they're really going to have to take a close look at things like certificate of need. So I think we can expect to see some changes there this year, Brad.
I guess the question is, how much is it tied? Does the federal money require complete repeal, or are you allowed to have a little bit of a glide path to phase things out? Because in that case, there's a glide path now in some respects.
Yeah.
And in some of those, it's coming up 26, 27, more things will fall by the wayside and not require CON approval anymore. But we'll have to see. It's going to be a big thing. I mean, to have the governor at the State of the State address talk about the need to remove what he called overregulation for healthcare vis-a-vis certificate of need, that was a pretty big moment because for years, and you understand the policy implications. If you're going to put a hospital, and we'll use Dandridge. I like to pick on Dandridge since it's your hometown. But if you're going to put a hospital in Dandridge, is there a hospital in Dandridge? Is there?
There's not. There's one in Jefferson City. Well, it was St. Mary's when I
Yeah.
lived there. I don't know that it's St. Mary's now, but if anyone's listening from Jefferson City, please let us know what hospital is there.
Well, here's the
Um,
policy issue for that, as you know, Ashley. You've got a hospital in Jeff City, and then all
yes.
of a sudden somebody wants to plop in, you invest all the money in that to have the hospital in Jeff City, and then somebody comes in and plops a competing hospital down right next to it or three
Yeah.
blocks away. So that's the concern. You've got the free market folks saying, hey, it ought to be just survival of the fittest and that sort of thing, or we're going to improve healthcare. But you understand the various arguments because you've got, it was almost territorial, and you've got to show again that there is a need for another hospital, and a lot of those regulations are going away. So that'll be an interesting thing to watch.
Yeah. No, I'll definitely have my popcorn ready on that one,
And no,
Brad.
we don't want to start rumors there's a hospital going in Dandridge. If that's
No,
that,
I don't, it might just be me on this, but I don't know that the need is quite large enough in
in Dandridge,
Dandridge.
there is the
So,
need. There is the need to bring back Dandridge Seafood House, but I'll leave that.
okay, you heard it here first,
That is
folks. We,
there
we
is a
need the
big area
Dandridge Seafood
of need
House.
on that for sure. Okay, I think that's really about it for this week. I mean, it's obviously going to hit everything, again, hitting fast, and it's kind of crazy. You wait all year for this 6 week stretch, but that's really what happens. The other thing is, as we mentioned earlier, all these days on the Hill, all these groups are coming in. Yesterday was UT Day on the Hill, so everybody had on their orange, and I think I even saw MTSU's mascot. I guess it's their day on the Hill as well, but it was walking
Yeah.
on the blue horse. So anyway, but you had a lot of that and a lot of those events, and then next week will be various other groups. All that leading up to, of course, the main one, the biggest one of the year, March 18th, and that's TBA's Day on the Hill. Ashley, I think last year Big Shrimp was the biggest success we've ever had,
It
and
was great.
I'd
We,
like for you to talk about how important Big Shrimp is in your social calendar.
yeah. No, I mean, I'd love to. So I don't want to, I don't know if you remember Shrimpgate from the year prior.
It was
And
Shrimp
boy,
Game.
did we really recovered last year because it was probably the largest bowl of shrimp I've ever seen in my life. And it was at a great location. I hope it's at the same spot. Walking distance for these legislators to get their staff. We had, a whole lot of attorneys there that showed up. And we got so much good feedback about this event, Brad. It was, I mean, it was unbelievable.
Yeah, it was, and I was excited about the big bowls of Old Bay seafood. I mean, I just keep talking about it. Old Bay I love it. So, but anyway, March 18th, that's going to be a big day, and we're looking forward to that. Make your plans if you haven't already. We're going to start out today. We are providing some lunch, I believe. I'm not sure if that's an official announcement or not, but we're working on plans for that. As those of you know that have been to Cordell Hull building, that the food selection is not exactly ideal. So I think the plan is we're looking at doing a sort of an offsite place where you can go get a lunch. And then, of course, but we don't want you to get too full and not be able to eat all the shrimp that evening. But it's going to be great. Great day to spend a lot of time with fellow lawyers across the state working on, issues that affect us as a community. And we'll have a good list of them and chance to have some good meetings. So again, mark your calendars for March 18th. Ashley, that's all I've got this week. Thankfully, it's beginning to warm up. There's no snow in the forecast. Oh, I'm thinking that the groundhog was wrong and we might be getting an early spring. Let's hope so.
I hope you're right.
Yeah. All right. That wraps us up for this week, everybody, on the TBA podcast. Hopefully next week we'll have our fearless leader, Berkeley, on to join us, and maybe she can have her chainsaw in hand to show us how.
I hope she has the chainsaw in like a mask that goes, yeah. So we'll see if Berkeley can make that happen for us.
All right. We'll see you next week. Thanks, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.